And so we're back with Chapter 5 of our playthrough of Mother 3, The Tower of Thunder. As we were finishing our last episode, we were we had just finished Club Titty Boo. We had recruited Duster, or maybe Lucky, back into our group. We released the dove into the air to let Old Man Wes know that his son was found. Um, I think there was the ominous tower, and we were supposed to be going. Ah, right. So Duster is supposed to be getting the egg that he hid
Yeah, yeah,
3 years ago.
exactly. And I don't think you're even able to go back to town. At least I did not. It like sort of starts you off right there by the cliff, um, where I don't know if you explored over there before, but there was some fireworks in a box, and there
Hmm.
was like the remains of some wall staples, but they were kind of broken. And now, of course, we've just climbed up a fresh set of wall staples, and we're about to go on our next sort of new portion of the world, uh, which is I think it's called like the Murasaki Forest
Hmm.
area. There might be some other names, new names that pop in at this point. But yeah, I didn't try backtracking anyway, and I don't know if you're able to, or if there's ants. Maybe there's ants in the way if you try. Not
Uh,
sure.
so I tried a little bit of backtracking, and I got to, I guess, the beginning of the gondola ride, and then I like kind of walked around and I was exploring. And you fight
Hmm.
some more chimera type enemies. Uh, I guess last chapter we could have been fighting the moles with like the drills for the hands, and then the pig flowers
Oh,
that were
they're
very
hard.
weird. And then there
My
was like
God.
yeah, and then there was a catfish that like jump. No, it's a dogfish that like jumps out of the water, and you can attack it. And so it has like a dog head and a fish body. Um, so after I played my playthrough, I looked to see a walkthrough to see if I missed anything or just kind of take down some notes. And you can actually go back to the castle,
Oh
um,
wow.
and you can fight. His name is Lord Passion, and he's another conductor, um,
Whoa.
ghost conductor, um, playing one of, I believe, Beethoven's songs. I don't know which one, but if
Mhm.
you beat him, you get like the magnificent shoes for Duster, and they give you
Oh
like
man.
up 50 for offense, and the description is like straight out of like a fairy tale. And they have kind of, if I recall correctly, the picture of them has like wings, like Mercury or Nike.
Sure. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Man, that would have made it a lot easier. Is it a super hard battle, or is it just hard to know to go do that?
I think it's not super difficult. Um, I didn't do it, right? So again, I figured it out afterward, and then the playthrough that I watched, didn't struggle too much. I mean, it looked like the guy maybe had as much trouble as he did against the pork trooper because he didn't use
Oh, the
the
pamphlet.
yes, yeah.
Yeah.
So he did it, he didn't take the coward's way out like I did. So it didn't seem like it was particularly hard, just kind of hidden, like
Yeah.
because in chapter 4 I had gone back to the castle,
Oh, okay.
but then I could not traverse over that one gap because we didn't have the rope snake.
The rope snake, right? Makes a reappearance at the very end of this chapter. Yeah, yeah.
So yes, you could go all the way back to the castle and get those shoes. If you didn't get them by the end of this chapter, they are gone for good, and you
Oh,
have missed your
wow.
opportunity.
Shoot.
Yes, that's unfortunate.
Okay. Well, that's cool to know that there's a lot of hidden stuff like that, though. Yeah, I didn't, like I said, I didn't even try backtracking, but when you mentioned Old Man Wes, I was like, oh, maybe I should have gone and actually talked to him and seen if that helped Dester and, their relationship at all. But I didn't bother. I didn't do it.
Yeah, me neither. I feel like in this game, whenever because in chapter 4, I had explored to great length, and I felt like it was pretty pointless, a lot of it, aside from
Yeah.
maybe just story building. But, we got those weird dolphin ear bones that still don't know what they do. Um, you, again, you go, you talk to the pig mask people doing the military exercises, but you don't get anything out of that. I went to
Hmm.
the castle before. There was nothing there. Um, so this chapter, I'm like, I'm not going to explore, or I'm going to do like a very like cursory search. Um, and
Right.
that seems to have been an awful decision because I think I missed quite a few items.
Bummer.
But we can get to that. So yeah, so we begin our journey, go into those caves, right? We start encountering other like weirder, I would say, chimeras. You have the
Yes.
hammerhead shark kangaroo with even the
Yeah.
kangaroo baby. The Joey has a hammerhead. It's very creepy looking.
It is. Yeah.
And then you have
Yeah.
the lion that kind of looks like uh, Doc Ock with a bunch of just like metal tentacles coming out.
Yeah. And that one casts fire spells,
Yeah.
which are pretty powerful at this stage. Um, yeah, the enemies are much more difficult, but that's okay because you got a bunch of new party members. And yeah, I feel like there's not too much of a increase in complexity of everything either. Like there are enemies now using psi attacks and stuff. You can still try to do combo attacks, however that works. But yeah, there isn't really too much new that's introduced except like the combinations of everything that we've seen so far.
Yeah.
But
The one thing is the turtle will turn around and like so
oh
I
yeah, the
guess
sneaky bazookas out of its butt. I
which
hate those turtles.
which are present if you approach it from behind as well, which I thought was kind of cool. Which
Yeah.
it makes sense, right? But it's almost a oh beware of like creeping up on this. I do think you get a free attack though, so
Yes.
it's a risk reward type situation. Plus they're pretty easy to avoid.
Yeah,
Um,
they don't really move much, do they? Other than turning.
a lot of the
Right.
enemies I found have been avoidable if you put in the effort to avoid them.
Hmm. Yeah.
They're not as aggressive as they were in Earthbound, and the fact that you can run uh, makes it so that you can basically outrun it. If you get past an enemy, as long as you don't inadvertently run into a wall, like you can get away from them.
Yeah. And I think you can also run from battles a little more easily. At least in my experience, I haven't had as much difficulty like getting out of a fight if I don't want to be in it. Um, but that might just be compared to the original Mother, where that was pretty difficult. I don't know that I did run that much in Earthbound. Uh, yeah, in this area, I did bring up the name just because it's got a like usual. It's got like a reference hidden in it. Murasaki is the author of the Tale of Genji.
Okay.
She was a um, like a lady of the court in ancient or medieval Japan. She's sort of like one of the national writers, one of the greats of their literature. And it's basically like a long soap opera type love story that involves a lot of intrigue and a lot of romance and some bloodshed, I think. But it's mostly just very, very long. And I've never read like an unabridged translation of it.
Have you
So I
run?
don't,
Have you read it
I
in
don't.
abridged?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have glanced over this story. I do not know this story very well, though. So I just wanted to bring it up, though, because it's like a pretty highbrow reference for Earthbound, or the Mother series, rather. They tend to go more pop culture usually. This one's um, definitely like a classic
Interesting.
for its films. Yeah,
What do you think the significance of that is? I'm struggling to find a connection between.
yeah, beats me. I mean, it's around Club Titty Boo, so that's kind of like the clash of the highbrow, lowbrow
Okay.
thing. I'm not really sure other than that. Just for
Okay.
funsies.
Fair enough. Um, that's interesting. Okay. I need to pay
Yeah.
attention more to the names. I did pay attention to one of the names of one of the bosses later, which I thought was just a spelling error, but we'll get to that later. Um,
Yeah.
so then we have probably my least favorite part of a mother. Well, no, the monkey caves are my least favorite part of any monkey of any mother game.
Yeah.
Um, but the falling through holes to try to figure out like where to go and traverse these weird caves or caverns, that these rather, um, what's the word I'm thinking? There's someone that works hard.
Oh yeah, the little moles down there.
Yeah.
They're singing songs about how hard they work. I mean, it's not just that they work hard; they just love to work.
Well, one of them
Industrial.
does not.
Oh yeah, there's the lazy one. Uh,
Yes.
they have like little like stories about how um, such people are to be sort of despised and pitied, right? Like they have a whole culture of workaholism that goes along with their happy little mole life down there.
Yes. And I was
Love
very
them.
distraught too that there were no relative strengths between the moles that were down there.
Right, they really missed an opportunity there.
Yes, I think that they definitely did. I will say I did appreciate how short it was and how you could use kind of logic to figure out where to go.
Hmm.
Um, and the enemies weren't too tough in there, so that I mean that was just kind of like a breezed. At first I was groaning. I was like, "You got to be kidding me! I gotta." There's like a ton of holes here. Um, and I don't know if I just got lucky or I used logic to figure it out, but I feel like I did quickly get through that. Um,
Yeah.
plus there were like goodies around. So even if you went the wrong way, usually you were rewarded with like a present. So,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, it
yeah,
wasn't too bad. I think I actually explored the like opening that brings you back out from the underground. I went backwards and I walked all around and found some present boxes and stuff, and then I just looked at it and was like, oh, so that's the hole. And yeah, it was very kind of them to have it actually map on nicely. Um,
so what
so
do you
yeah, not too bad.
what do you think the purpose of that was? I mean, I guess the only other time that we've really been in caverns, or at least that I can think of, is when we had to go and get the claymen,
Mhm.
and kind of bring them back up and move them up the elevator. And there's just like a very arduous type, slow, um, just awful part of the game, and intentionally so, I believe.
Yeah.
And so I guess what now we have these moles, going again with this kind of theme of nature over technology, where like they're more than happy to like do the work. Um,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know. What are your thoughts? You think that this is kind of like an intentional, uh, uh, dichotomy that Toy is
Mhm.
trying to point out
Seems that way. Yeah, and we even see some mole chimeras a little bit later, right? Or earlier? I forget.
earlier?
Anyways, yeah, there's mole enemies too. So yeah, there's definitely something going on where like the moles left to themselves are having a great old time, but then they get um, you know, taken advantage of, modified, and it's bad. Uh, and the Clayman even more so, right? This this whole the whole business of chasing down the rogue Clayman is just really goofy. Anyway, yeah, I think there is some sort of callback happening here that like preps us to go on this wild goose chase with that one Clayman.
Yeah. So I had some questions about this, right? I mean, I guess technically we don't know when Duster actually put the egg into the clay person,
Hmm.
right? We don't
Hmm.
know when he did it and kind of like when he went to Club Titty Boo. And I know that we saw some of the clay people in the castle when they were kind of being invaded, simultaneously. But it seems weird that there would just be this one rogue clay man. I think it's the only one that there has been so far, just
Hmm.
lost in the woods that Duster just happens to come across. Um, so I guess in my head I'm trying to figure out like, well, how did it get there? Was this maybe like an earlier model where uh, they were just kind of being dumped wherever like they wanted to be dumped at that time? It's just like they stopped working and it was just kind of I guess kind of like facade, just throwing his banana peels everywhere, just kind of like discarding them, not putting them in their proper place and that kind of deal. Um, and then I guess, my other question is, I have to imagine that it being zapped was completely unintentional, right? Like the Tower of Thunder's on the fritz when we get there. Um,
Exactly. Yeah.
so yeah, so it really is just a wild goose chase of extremely unlikely events occurring.
Yep. I mean, it's perfect timing, right? Like in all the time, however long it was, nothing changed other than like some, stuff growing over top of this clay man. Um, and then the one moment when we arrive, sure enough, the stray bolt of lightning comes down and zaps it full of energy, and off it goes. Yeah, it's like pointing out the silliness of the narrative again, in a different way than usual, maybe, but just like the incredible improbability, um, and then the fact that it leads us straight to the Tower of Thunder, right? Like of all the totally random places it could run off to, after making some zigs and zags, falling into the garbage truck and all this stuff. It just like takes us right where we need to go anyway. That's kind of fun. Um, I'll point out, I guess, another fun improbability, right? That's really useful here is that we happen to look just like the commander.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, and again, that's like built in deep into the story, right? Like the fact that there are twins and they're identical twins, is like, I guess, part of the main inspiration for this whole story. Um, if it's more than just the names that Itoi gets from that book series, um, about the twins. But anyways, yeah, like there's something going on here with like, probabilities and improbabilities, and of course, right, like normally they can direct the lightning, but like you said, it's not working properly. It's on the fritz, and so lightning is actually going kind of randomly, like it normally would. So there's like a weird thing about nature versus like engineering,
right.
and where those break down and fuse back into one thing. So
Yeah, well, and then another improbable thing that happened that I'd like to point out was the beating the DMMC or DCMC five
oh right,
times in
yeah.
a row and rock paper scissors.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, so this is a clearly destiny, and all the I don't believe in coincidences, right?
Mm-hmm,
And if
mm-hmm,
you believe, if coincidences are just coincidences, why do they feel so contrived? Um,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, so the guy, the Clayman, gets zapped, starts running around. We go to the Thunder Tower. There's a couple pig masks before you enter who are talking about where they hang up their mask, but when they go to the bathroom, um, which you're not supposed to do. Apparently, you're just supposed to keep your mask on at all times. Which I thought at first, it's kind of this like funny thing, a funny throwaway line, but I think it humanizes the pig masks a bit. They're idiots, right? I don't think they just know that they're following orders. Not that that excuses their behavior, but they're just hanging out. Hey, where do you go? Talking about just like mundane stuff that um, anyone at work would probably talk about if they had to wear an outfit like that. So I thought that was kind of like a humanizing um,
Yeah.
kind of it's, initially it's kind of like a throwaway. It's just humor. It's like, oh wait, yeah, this is kind of funny. And then yes, you're right. So as you pointed out earlier, they say, "Oh, Commander, you can't be looking like this.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get you other clothes." And so Duster and Kumatara don pig mask clothing. Um, Boney gets to wear a nice yellow uh, pig head mask. I don't know why they don't have a suit for him, considering he was walking around with a hat and a jacket earlier in this chapter, even. And then you get to wear this weird. I don't even know. I don't even know how you would describe the outfit that Lucas is wearing.
Sort of vaguely imperial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Uh, it's annoying, I think, how much we are wearing like weird outfits. It's a little bit silly. It Oh, another humanizing thing here. The way that the pork trooper, the big one,
Yes.
like is a big fan of the band.
Yes.
Uh, it's kind of cool. Um, Also, like a reference, I guess, sort of to Master Belch in
Yes,
the
I
old
was thinking
game,
that too.
because it's like pretty conspicuous that there is this item. It's not very good at attacking, but it does say like it's useful against fans of the DCMC. And so I don't know if like if you have it equipped, it like deals a lot more damage to this particular enemy, but the way that I used it was just by using it in battle because it was in
Yeah.
my inventory still. And it's like the way the fly honey, right? Like totally obsesses Master Belch and he doesn't attack anymore. This time it's I guess just for a couple turns, but it makes the pork guy so jealous that he just
Yes.
is jealous during his turn.
Yeah, yeah, no, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, in Master Belch fight you have to use the fly honey to win. Um,
I I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but it makes it way easier. That yeah.
I have to I oddly enough I was watching, I don't know, some speed running history of Earthbound Glitchless, and I think that they mentioned that you need the fly honey to beat, like
Okay.
you need it to beat Master Belch, and I think it was more of a, like, it's a powerful item, so you need it because of the time save, or more than
Hmm.
like you actually just need it to actually be able to beat. I'll look that up after we get off here just to
It'd be worth
confirm.
checking. Yeah.
But yeah, no,
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing. I was like, wow, this is, you have this like strong, not, the big boss. I would say kind of like a mid tier boss,
Right.
that can just be completely circumvented, right? Or made into a pushover just by using like a certain weird item that you receive.
Right.
Um,
It's awesome. There's two of them too. There's at least two of the item this time around, so it makes it a bit easier. If you didn't get it the first time around, buying it from the dude who sells you all the merch,
yeah,
you find one in a box somewhere nearby here, so it
right,
helps you out a little bit.
right. I think I still, because I think you got one after the performance, right? If you talk to a person, they were like, "Oh, here's a pamphlet,"
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. You're right.
and then yes, then you do get another one because I had like two in my inventory. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I kept both of these because I only needed one. Um,
Right.
I will
Uh,
say, the references to Star Wars, I feel like, are starting to really pile up.
uh-huh.
Um, the big guy is called a pork trooper now. A
Hmm.
stormtrooper, pork trooper. Um, that's kind of weird. But I thought that the outfit that Lucas is wearing reminded me a lot of Han Solo. Um,
Um,
you have Boney, who's kind of like Chewbacca. You have the princess, right? Leia.
yeah,
Now, I don't think that Lucas and Kumatora are siblings, but it just seems very weird to me. Um,
yeah.
because then eventually, so you beat the guy, and then what? You climb up the tower, or you somehow end up in this like weird desert. Um,
Yes.
and you get into another one of the pork beans. So you're driving around this highway system that's basically akin to a desert. With basically Han Solo, Princess Leia, all this stuff on like a levitating vehicle. I don't know. To me, it just seemed very heavily inspired by Star Wars. Um, and then one other thing I'd like to point out about the Pork Trooper is I thought it was funny how um, he kind of sniffed you out. That's how you were discovered. It was like, hey, you wait. He's like, I can smell you. You are the kids from the Club Titty Boo. You're not actually the commander. Um,
Hmm.
and in the previous game, we had the pig mask where use that to smell out truffles. So,
Oh,
um,
interesting.
it's just a parallel, I guess I wanted to point out, or a reference, or maybe his just a toy's love of pigs and their ability to smell.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I didn't think about that. Um, that whole uh, piece of this, but there's definitely something going on about like telling a good thing from a bad thing, um, but not based on just the looks, I guess. Anyway, um, you mentioned the desert highway. This part, I did not find all seven mice,
Yeah,
to my great shame. I was like, okay, I looked pretty much everywhere. I think I'm just gonna move on here. But I did find one other cool secret thing, which was a dude. I forget his name now. Is it like Joe or he has some cool name? Leo. Oh yeah,
yeah,
it's Leo. And he's hanging out in like a little part of the cave, and you get to choose one of his gift boxes if you talk to him enough.
yeah.
Um, and I don't know what other stuff he might have had,
Nothing.
but I picked. Oh, so the one thing, no matter what you pick. Okay, so it's a pretty cool it's like a regen
Yeah,
spell, right? Where like every turn you get a little HP back.
yeah.
If you wear his his sweatshirt with his name knitted in it.
Yes.
so,
I'm very.
so I like that.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was
fun.
cool. That was so the mice. Do you know what you get if you find all seven mice?
What?
It's like a shield remover,
Ooh.
which if you look at the picture of it, it's like one of those. Do you remember those like sticky hand? They're like green things that you could get from like those little
Mhm.
like 25 cent, 50 cent vending machines. Um,
Right.
and like they would just get filthy super quickly.
Oh yeah, yeah, the sticky hands for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So that's like it was. That's what it was a picture of, and it was really useful in the playthrough I watched against the next boss that we encountered.
Right. Yeah, there it comes in with a shield on, right?
Yeah,
There's also a weird like interlude at the Greasy Spoon, the restaurant there. Um, there's like a long line outside the bathroom.
yeah.
There's a jukebox in there. I don't know. I felt like there was more that was going to happen there, but it just seems like Neckbeard has shown up and is just throwing his weight around. That's all I really could glean from that. But
and
weird little, yeah.
and you had
It's,
the frog in the car.
yeah, of course.
I'm telling you, like the frogs, in like their different kind of environments, whatever. They're like changing characteristics is like one of my favorite things about this game. Um,
yeah.
Did you there apparently there's like this like special enemy that you could encounter. It's called like the Bright Smile. I think it was like pretty easy to beat and you get like a lot of experience. Did you end up encountering that?
Ooh, so like the caterpillar that shows
Yes.
up in the desert. Yeah, no, I did not find that.
Yeah.
Didn't know about it.
Oh, that's a shame. Uh it had yellow teeth and it reminded me of those like Roger Hargraves Mr. Man or like Mr. They were like kind of like a just like a circle character.
Um,
If you look it up, you can see what I'm talking about. That's Roger Hargraves. How do you
oh,
spell that
nice.
name? Mr. Whatever. Mr. Books. Yeah, Mr. Happy. Mr. I gotta find Bright Smile enemy. Anyway, thought that was interesting. Since Itoy does steal characters from,
Mhm.
you know, the U.S., very creepy. Uh, anyway, well, you can look that up on your own time, I guess. But yeah, so yeah, I was a bit. I missed the sweater and I missed the mice. Um,
No.
so I did not get any of the secrets in there. I think I might have found the secret herb. Um, but I was just kind of making like a beeline for the junkyard, just to progress the
Okay.
game. I do. I think as I was playing this game, I do not feel as I don't feel compelled to explore nearly as much, and I think maybe Chapter 4 soured me on it because again I felt like a lot of it
Yeah.
was pretty pointless.
Yeah.
And now it seems like in chapter 5 I should have explored because there was like a lot of cool things that I could have found. Um,
It's weird. Yeah, I kind of wonder about the development of the game, whether there's like different teams on different chapters. And so some teams, for whatever reason, like did include a bunch more kind of incentive to wander around and find stuff, and other teams just didn't, couldn't, or whatever. Like, yeah, it's very odd that that would be the way that it would open, right, in chapter 4. It's just
yeah,
like just a bunch of time wasting essentially, versus later now you're finding like very cool stuff if you spend the time to do
yeah.
it.
No,
Um,
I mean the knit, like I regret not getting the knit sweater. Um, the shield snatcher, maybe, I don't know, we'll see. I mean, I was able to get through our next boss who
yeah.
without it, who is the forlorn junk heap.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, you finally catch up to the dump truck. The clay man is dumped. The clay man with the egg inside is dumped in there. You go down, and this forlorn junk heap awakens, and you have to fight him. And he's a pretty tough boss, I felt.
Yeah, this one was not easy. I also had just learned the shield ability, and I think that saved me because I started using it on people. Um, he comes in with a shield,
Yeah.
and it gets knocked out after just a few turns, so that's not so bad. But he also just hits really hard. Um, nothing. I don't recall finding a good weakness. Um, none of my like consumable items. I think I wasted a saltwater gun on him, which I really would have liked to have later on. Um,
Uh, yeah. Well, one of the funny things that I think happened in my playthrough is I tried to use sniff with Boney.
hmm
And it said
Yeah.
like it smells too bad, you can't sniff anything. It's like garbage. It's like, oh, okay, great. I can't learn. So yeah, you can't even like learn its weakness even if you waste your one turn with Boney. It's just like, no, no, you can't. It just smells like garbage.
Boney is very um, selectively useful here. Boney is fast. Boney's sniff is really used. Like you get to see the enemy's weaknesses. That's nice. Uh, he just doesn't hit very hard, and he has no other abilities. So I would have him use items, right? But then if I forgot to like give him all the good items, then he was sort of just taking up space in some of these boss fights. Like I did not utilize Boney very well a lot of the time, I think.
No,
Uh,
you're right. He took a lot of preparation because he was the one that you should be using like your consumable items with, or even just any
exactly.
any items that you could use. Even I think secret herbs to
hmm
revive someone, right?
Totally.
Because yeah, I would assume it's similar with you, but like Boney always goes first.
He always goes first, and he seems to get attacked the least often. And I
Yeah.
don't know if the order of party members, it seems like from left to right, people get attacked less and less. So,
Yes.
anyways, yeah, he's I guess yeah, you just need money and you need items and you need patience and attention to
Yeah.
give them to him.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, the shield ability for as far as Sai goes, that was super handy here. Um, otherwise, yeah, I didn't find any real weaknesses in this battle. It was just kind of a slog. Um,
Yep.
and when you do win, like there isn't really that much fanfare for getting the egg back. Like it doesn't do anything immediately, at least, other than Buster kind of gets his memories back. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. And yes, that's correct. His amnesia is cured.
Okay.
He realizes that he's Duster the whole time. Um, but I think it's interesting that this is yet another enemy that we are fighting, kind of similar to the base that we fought in the attic,
hmm
where it's like another just kind of inanimate object that's been tossed away. Um,
Yeah.
and I that leads me to another question. These claymen, right? Uh, we see a ton of them being junked, but
Mhm.
it seems like you can just zap them with electricity to give them life again. So I'm a little confused as to why so many of them like are ending up in these junkyards to begin with. Are some of them defective? Do they have just kind of a useful life of X amount of time, and like the ones that we see have just kind of like run out and can't be revitalized anymore? I don't think that that's
Yeah,
explained in the game.
no. As far as I know, uh, it's not explained, but it does seem like there's some sort of finite number of recharges that's going on here, and they like just go crazy after a little bit. Um, yeah, there is something about tossing away, getting rid of things that used to be useful. Um, and it's like the old people's home down in the village too, right? It's like that's where these people wind up. Um, they're forgotten about there.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we get the egg, and then what happens? We go to the tower again. I forget. How do we get to the tower?
Um, I think that we,
Do we fight? Is that
have,
what? No, we don't fight him yet. We fight him again later.
yeah, I don't remember why we have to go to the tower either. Um, other than it's right there.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's not like it matters. It's just yeah, we just go there because this time we actually have to ascend up there.
hmm hmm And there's some stuff about how, everyone's like, "Oh, did you get that very important thing that you accidentally threw away?" Like they're pointing out, I guess, how silly it was, um, or how unlikely it is that we're actually the commander. I guess um, that's kind of strongly emphasized. But they also are having problems of their own. Like maybe we're supposed to go and fix it. I'm not sure. Anyways, the thing is malfunctioning. The generator seems to be broken, and the way that they power this place is with like electric catfish.
Yes.
Um, and I guess they're sort of just out of juice or like have lost their motivation after being stuck in these tanks for so long. Anyways, there's some problems here. The enemy that we're up against is not as yeah, not as impregnable as it might have seemed.
Uh, well, I loved all the jokes as you're getting in there, and it's like
Yeah.
intruder is what I'd say if there was an intruder in here. I'm really on the lookout for intruders, and it's like the like all those things every time like you talk to someone, uh, you think that you're caught, right? You hear the Snake from Metal Gear, the that like alert sound, like this is it, I'm going to be kicked out, but it's like no one notices that you're not that that you are an intruder. No one notices that you are an intruder. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so again, they're utilizing, I guess, natural resources to charge this giant mechanical uh, lightning machine that's on the fritz. It is. I know that catfish have uh, significance in Japanese culture. I
Hmm.
know in Mega Man X3 there was a one of the bosses was Volt Catfish,
Weird.
and I think if I recall correctly, I was watching someone play an N64 game where like there was like a catfish in a mountain that was like causing earthquakes. Um, so it might be worth investigating a little bit more about catfish in Japanese culture, um, and their
Yeah.
characteristics and their relation maybe to aside from I guess just the fact that are are catfish like electrical eels? I guess they are. I think some of them are.
I have no idea, but yeah, I know that Itoi has a game that's called Itoi's Bass Fishing.
Yeah.
So maybe there's other kinds of fish he knows about also.
Everyone seems to have a fishing game, I guess. Even
Yeah.
Dan Mullen.
Uh-huh. That's right.
So
Under the
so
surface.
yeah, yeah, so we're making our way up the tower. We have to fight your boy, the pork trooper again. Um, he's just as easy this time if you flaunt your pamphlet in front of him again, makes him insanely jealous. Um, and so you beat him. You you climb up the tower. Oh, I guess I should mention he does have a really sweet DCMC collection.
Oh yeah, such a cool, uh, like swag. Yeah.
Do you think a toy was trying to make any kind of statement about fandom? Um, I know if I got into a fight with someone and they started flashing their Mother G-Shock watch in front of me, I would completely lose all sense of what I'm supposed to be doing in life, and jealousy would overtake me, and I would lose sight of my ultimate goal.
Yeah. Same here. Yeah, totally. I mean, it's like I think especially once we get to Master P, the next room that's like owned by a recognizable character, right? Um, he's got like a bunch of Earthbound merchandise essentially, cluttering up this playroom of his. Yeah, yeah, and that's not a person that we want to be, right? Like he's definitely the villain. So there's some pointed commentary coming out of the the Thunder Tower here.
Yeah, which is, I guess ironic that the watch is such a highly coveted item when a
Oh
toy
yeah,
seems to be specifically railing against this type of materialism.
totally, totally, and specifically fandom, like you said. I mean, all the this sort of jokes, the Star Wars references, and just messing around with that. Again, there's a Final Fantasy VI reference possibly embedded here, where late in that game you're supposed to fight an enemy who's at the top of a tower that shoots essentially lightning, and burns up people that he doesn't like. So uh,
I,
yeah, or you
I
could think
are
of Sinnoh Tower too.
as an aside, I don't know if you've seen this episode of South Park, or at least are aware of it, but there's that that episode where I think like Butters is trying to do something, and at every turn, the one kid just goes like, "Yeah, the Simpsons have already done it," and
Yep,
it's like
yep.
nothing's original anymore. Like everything is a like derivative of something else. So I always wonder if I'm just applying, like saying, "Oh, here's a trope, and this trope was present in Star Wars," and it's like I don't know if that's just such a common trope that
Hmm.
it's almost like impossible not to use. But it's just I most heavily associate it with Star Wars. Um,
Right, right.
so yeah. So I don't know how much of this is like intentional homages or how much of it is just it, there's just so many. Some games just have like so many tropes that it's just impossible like not to have these homages. But
Yeah,
I think the ones that we just discussed, the tower with the lightning and then the Star Wars, are probably intentional.
seems fair.
Yeah,
Yeah, but like you said, it's kind of just in the water at this point.
yeah. So as you were talking about earlier, we after we dispatch of Pork Trooper, we go up to Master P's room, um, and it's very
So
childlike.
yeah, yeah, it's a weird mixture of um, useful things and things that are maybe potentially useful, but also just like crap. Just like
Yes,
yeah, stuff from childhood that you should have outgrown, but you still got it around for whatever reason. Um, there's boxes and there's bicycles and teddy bears, and pretty quickly you realize that these are like things from earlier games,
yes.
uh, and that Master P is almost certainly Porky, your neighbor, Ness's neighbor,
Spoiler alert.
because yeah, well, and part of it too is the maid, right? He had a maid in Forside, and now he has like a robot maid
Hmm.
who is um, actually very aggressive. If you do go and check everything like you do, then she'll attack you for trying to look too closely at the yo-yo. friend's yo-yo that's in a case.
Yes.
Uh, and she killed the crap out of me 2 or 3 times before
Yes.
I bested her. She's very scary in
Yes.
battle.
You can use the saltwater gun against her, which
Yep,
deals
yep,
quite a bit of damage. But I think it took me 2 or 3 tries. Luckily, the frog is in that room as well. He's tied to a balloon and just kind of floating
right.
around. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that there is a hot tub in the shape of a
Mm-hmm.
star in the room with the healing
Right.
properties. So, and then there's also one of the boxes is like a surprise box that you can fight.
Yeah, that's right. And it's also pretty powerful. If you're
Yes.
not hit hard quickly, it burns you up with fire. Yeah, it's no joke.
And there's a vending machine in there where I guess you never know if you're Master P, if you're going to need more than one rubber raincoat
Yeah.
that you're going to pay money for. Like, yeah, why would you ever have a vending machine that you actually have to pay like real money for? Uh,
Well, maybe you just have so much dragon points that you can do that. I don't know.
well, that's
Master
true.
P.
I mean, he does have his abode is on the middle of like a thunder tower, so maybe having that stuff, or maybe it's price gouging, right? He invites his like buddies up there, and then it's like, hey guys, you gotta we have this generator, it's on the fritz. You might want to buy one of these coats.
Yeah, the insulated armor. It's um yeah, it's definitely a weird mix of like very much in your face foreshadowing here with like, oh, why do we look just like the commander? Who could the commander possibly be? Right? And Master P and all this stuff. Um but also there's still some real mysteries about like what is this game actually going to end up being about?
Yeah,
What's that egg actually for? And what are they up to here?
I would
Still
not be
kind of
surprised if the egg is nothing.
yeah. Right. Uh, so, anyways, the yo-yo, pretty useful item. I don't know if it's worth that fight. It does boost your speed and power a little bit. Yeah, I didn't buy the insulated coats. That made the
Bummer,
next fight really hard.
bummer.
Probably should have. Yeah, probably should have stocked up, but I didn't have the money, so I didn't bother with it.
I had
Pushed it.
I had sufficient funds for two of two, so
Okay.
Duster and Lucas were pretty well protected. Boney died, I think, pretty quickly in my battle.
Yeah.
He did not see it to
Oh
the
yeah.
end. And then I think
Yeah.
Kumatora, I did my best to keep her alive. I think she survived as well. But yeah, so our next boss is basically, well, its name is Mr. Genitor,
Right.
which I thought was it's basically this mechanical robot thing that comes out of, I guess it's whatever's creating the electrical strikes, or I don't know what the hell that thing is actually supposed to be doing. Um, but it's dangerous. There's a lot of electricity in it, um, and it can use electrical attacks. Um, hold on. So yeah, so anyway, so Mr. Janitor, and I was like, oh, do you mean like Mr. Generator because it was like in a generator, right? And it's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
Genitor, I guess, was an in Greek mythology, Genitor was an Arcadian prince as one of the 50 sons of the impious king Lycan.
Yeah, he turns into a lycanthrope, right? A werewolf. Yeah.
Yeah,
So this is one of his sons. Okay.
yeah. So, and then to test them, Zeus visited them in the form of a peasant. These brothers mixed the entrails of blah blah blah, whereupon the enraged king of the gods threw the meal over the table. Genitor was killed along with his brothers in their fire by a lightning bolt of the god. Um,
Ah,
so it definitely seems intentional, right? A lightning, being killing Genitor in Greek mythology, and this one having electric powers. So I yeah I don't again, I just looked this up like 10 minutes before we started this because I was like, wait, janitor. I was like, does that mean anything? So I haven't actually done any kind of investigation. Um, but I do know, he was an Arcadian prince, and he's a werewolf apparently. So maybe there's something there. I wish we had Ben. He would know, like off the top of his head, I'm sure.
Yeah, or he just would have taught this recently in his mythology class, probably.
Yeah,
No, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's um again, it's one of these things. It's this battle that you can make easy on yourself or difficult on yourself,
right.
or at least easier by having the right stuff. Not so much as the pamphlet does, but I feel like it's kind of the same way as far as like trying to read into the game, right? Like you can try to and make it more difficult on yourself, or you can just be like, oh, yeah, they were probably just abbreviating generator. I don't know.
Right, 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 right.
It's um,
Well,
but
and
yeah,
it always sucks when there's like obviously this isn't like an official translation.
exactly, exactly. It's their best guess. Um, oh, but we should definitely mention that you also learned Flash by
Ah,
getting struck
oh
on your way
yeah,
up the.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, so you're the one struck by lightning here, and it teaches you a new psi attack, which is really really cool actually. Um,
And this
I
is
also learned a counter, so like a shield plus it bounces some of the damage back, which is handy.
hmm, it's interesting because I think in most other games, well, certainly in Earthbound, right, you have Mr. Carpainter using the
Hmm.
electric attack against you, and the Franklin badge reflects it. In
Oh yeah.
Mother, you have the electric shock. Well, you have the Franklin badge, right? Like, I don't think that there's any
Hmm.
time where there's like a cutscene where you're shocked. I don't think there's a. At least we haven't encountered a Franklin badge in this game, have we?
No, I certainly haven't, but that's a good point. That would have been the time to have it.
Yeah. So it's interesting, just the difference, I guess, between the games. But yeah,
Weird.
I forgot that. Did you have I in Flash? I think worked against Mr. Janitor.
Yeah, I didn't try it. Like I assumed it wouldn't.
Yeah,
Maybe that should have been a hint. Like, oh, you just learned this. You may as well try it in the next big battle you have.
I
Yeah, I
think it
didn't.
just
I
made
didn't
him
bother.
cry.
Well, that would have been handy. That would have been good.
Yeah.
Because he was wailing on me like he. The trick to this battle, right, is it's one of those things where it's like he goes through a cycle of attacks, and
Yes.
he'll swing around, hit for like 70 to 100 physical, and then he charges for a turn and then releases a shock that does like 150 damage to everybody if you're not wearing the coat. And
Yeah.
it's like, okay, so I just, at least one of the people's going to die from that. But then he is down for the count. He's like out of commission for 2 or 3 turns, recharging, and it's the only time your physical attacks don't deal back like 20 damage from getting
Yes.
shot.
Right.
But it's also like he heals himself when he charges, so it's very frustrating. You want to be attacking him, that like incentivizes you to try to, chip away at him and keep him from gaining back health. But you also have to heal yourself during that time. So it was an interesting battle. It was a long one.
I
Um,
I agree
yeah,
with you, and I think you touched on something that I was thinking about, which was a lot of these boss battles have different phases, which
yeah.
the only one that I can really think of from Earthbound that has this type of phases, aside from Gygas at the end, is Diamond Dog and Carbon Dog.
Oh yeah.
But even then, that's more of a you hit a certain point and like the battle just changes completely. This is more of a risk reward type. Oh, to Mr. Janitor, there are other ones where it's like it changes, where it's just kind of like a binary. Like you hit a certain point, and then like the boss changes. Miss Marshmallow is a perfect example of that, right? Like you deal enough damage, and then she becomes like enraged and has like can hit for a lot more damage.
Right.
Um,
Her sensors come out, her drill comes out, and it's on. Yeah.
Yeah, so but just there's just seems to be like a lot more strategy, and there seems to be more phases to a lot of these bosses that we're fighting, which I appreciate. The game seems to be a lot more heavily boss fight driven.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, So, uh, yeah. So after we beat Mr. Janitor, Facade shows up. I love his laugh. In my
Yes.
head, it's just that diabolical, like, um,
Yes. Yes.
but he sees right through you. He's chasing after you. He knows that you're not the commander. Um, now that I think about it, maybe Dan Snyder was like a huge Mother 3 fan, and that's why he changed the name of the Washington football team to the Commanders.
Oh, interesting.
Well, Terry Crews
Could
did want
be.
to localize Mother 3, and Terry Crews, I believe, was on the practice squad for the Washington football team at one point in time. So, keep your third eye open.
Well,
Right?
and I'm sure that Dan Snyder is the sort of person who just tosses his banana peels willy-nilly, and lets other people worry about that sort of thing. And sure enough, it catches up with Facade here. Um,
It's not just banana peels. By the way, there's a lot of other things that he's like tossing around like garbage.
yes, yes. Uh, so okay. Um, you said something about a helicopter when you summed this up for me in your text earlier. Yeah, there's good find. Uh, I did not see a helicopter though. Is that the very start of the next chapter?
Well, the mothership, I guess, is what I
Okay,
would
you're talking about
refer
the
to.
mothership. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see the connection though, because yeah, normally Porky is riding around in a helicopter back in Earthbound, but this time it's very conspicuously called the mothership. I liked that. Um,
Wow.
and it doesn't look that big actually, right? It's actually like it fits on one screen. It has a little, ladder dangling from it. And once Facade goes down, we leap for the ladder. The rope snake is holding on with all it's got, but also talking somehow about how its jaw is about to give out. Um, and I love that the rope snake is like thanking you for making it a bigger part of the game, like a bigger character in the story, uh, but also like apologizing for not being strong enough to
Right.
hold on with three people and a dog
Which fair
attached to it.
enough. Fair
Yeah.
enough. But yeah, and then I think also the commander like steps out, right?
Oh yeah, a couple times. Yeah.
So you actually see the commander. He is wearing, it seems to be some kind of metal pig mask. I think it's definitely
Uh huh.
metallic. I don't know if it's like the pig mask. It was kind of hard to see. Um, but yeah, so we've seen the. y- You'd think that they would have had a mask for Lucas to wear, right? Like, oh, we have his outfits, but we're not going to give you like the mask to wear.
Right. Right.
When they all realized, oh, this is the commander. Um, but
And
yeah,
if he does wear a mask all the time, how do they know that he looks like that? Also, um, when they see Lucas, if they've only ever seen Klaus behind the mask,
yeah,
yeah, I don't know. Very odd.
yeah.
Very Darth Vader though. Yeah.
No, it's interesting. I mean, I think obviously everyone is assuming that this is Klaus.
Gotta be.
Yeah, right. I mean, I thought Klaus was dead. So, um, but they said the same thing about Darth Vader, right? They said, "Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Anakin's dead," and then it's like, "Oh, actually, I didn't lie. Uh, he, he died and turned into Darth Vader. They're different people." And it's like, "All right, Obi-Wan, you piece of shit. Like what a pedantic argument, and like what a bullshit argument too." Um,
Right.
anyway, but yeah, so I think the next chapter is like called like Sunflower Fields or something, or Fields of Sunflowers. Um,
Yes. Yes.
and we get some dialogue that basically just says something to the effect of like, oh, there might only be like a 1 in a billion chance to save this, but we have to try, um,
Yes.
because there's like, a 1 in a billion chance to like reverse everything that's been going on. This industrialization sucks. Are they going to be separated again? So yeah, I don't know what's going to happen. I I think there's only like 8 or 9 chapters in this game, so I think we only have like 3 chapters left. There's just a lot that needs to happen.
Right, right. Again, we still don't really know the bigger picture at all. And maybe we're gonna hear it from someone, Old Man Wes or Alec or someone. But yeah, I kind of assume there's gonna be 8 chapters. Seems about right for a Mother game. So
Yes.
there's a lot to pull together here in a shorter ish time.
Yes. Well, I guess that'll do that for this discussion on this chapter. Um, I guess they're going to try to maybe explore more. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. Maybe finally we'll get to learn who the commander is and who Master P is. Um, but the game doesn't seem to be extremely dark so far, and I feel like I've heard that it gets extremely dark. So I'll be interested to see where it goes.
Okay. Well, sunflowers refer to the. Oh gosh, cats are fighting. The grave, right? I mean, maybe we'll get some flashbacks here. Maybe we'll see some of what Klaus has been up to. I don't know. Yeah, the game starts out pretty darn heavy, and then it has lightened up a lot since then. So
Yes,
yeah,
considering the last thing that we saw was a snake that was thanking us for making it a bigger part of the game, and then dropping us. So, yes, it's a pretty absurd game, but I guess that goes to the whole dichotomy of like the serious and the comical. But
yes,
yeah,
yes.
I guess that'll be it for now, and talk again next week.
Right on.
All
Take
right.
care.